I'm going to move to number 15, discussion on hiring legal counsel. So I recently got a call from the state police about the on-call investigation, and they wanted to speak to me. I obviously contacted our city attorney and give me a second, I'm just making sure that I have all the information. Now, keep in mind, we have not passed a resolution that requires us to bring forth the scope of work as well as the amount. However, and the city attorney did ask me to provide that, and he asked that he recommends that a scope of work and estimate of hours be submitted to city council before a bill is incurred. And I reminded him that while this was the protocol in the last administration by the last mayor for people who were no longer on city council, this is not a resolution that has been passed here. And more importantly, there were two people who have hired lawyers on our city council who were not asked to provide these pieces of information. And so I don't think laws should apply differently to different people. However, because we know that this is an issue and this is something that has been discussed significantly, I have put forth and sent you all the scope of work as well as the hours. Sorry, I have the information here. Yes, so I have engaged Snyder, Kiley, Toohey, Corbett, and Cox LLP as legal counsel in the matter of Brandy v. the City of Saratoga Springs, as well as the state police investigation about the on-call pay. The proposed scope of work is as follows. The scope of our representation shall be limited to representing me individually, and they will advise me, assist me, prepare in connection with the interview with the New York State Police investigator regarding any questions arising from the grand jury subpoena in the ongoing investigation on the on-call pay matter. And they have a standard charge of $525 per hour. Again, they're local, so I'm not going out to New York City. And the associate charge, I think, is $425. Again, I'm being upfront and transparent because I believe that, at the end of the day, we all want to save our city monies. But more importantly, also, because of the issue with this whole investigation and the restraining order, is that right, the TRO?
Yeah, there's a temporary word on there, but I don't think it means what I think it means.
Okay. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that we as the city council are paying our bills. If our city attorney is saying you need to retain a lawyer, then we need to be able to also pay the lawyer. And Oscar is here, and Oscar, that's a valid concern, right? If we retain you, we should have to pay you also. So,
$4.50 an hour, and my guys are all done. Exonerate? No. She asked me a question. They're done. They're exonerated.
So,
and no one else is in the state police. I got 3 months of waiting.
So, I think it's important that we also figure out a way forward that ensures that we are paying our bills. And so that's why I want to make sure that you are all in the loop and all in the know so that nobody can say, hey, this is brand new information. We discussed it. This was discussed.
Yeah, we do need to pass that to have a solid resolution as to how we move forward.
But again, resolutions cannot be applied retroactively.
Can I ask you if the scope of work, basically when you're interviewed by the state police, you just want to have an attorney there with you, correct?
That's right. And, anything new that stems from it would be, but basically that is exactly the scope of work. And again, all of this has been shared with the city attorneys, both Tony Izzo and Dave Harper. I also shared it with city council, so it's all on the up and up.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yes, absolutely.
This current lawsuit complicates that somewhat, but I hear you.
But the current lawsuit, as far as I understand, sorry, Dylan, just 1 second, okay, is only about Dylan's fees and not about
That is
other
correct.
fees.
That is correct.
Okay.
So, just a couple questions for you, Commissioner. When you were looking to get an attorney, did anybody express concern about getting paid? Given everything that's transacted in the
I was concerned that people may not want to work with us because of that issue. The person that I spoke to that was recommended, Mr. Cox, said that he knew Mr. Harper and knew, sort of had done work with the city. And so I'm hoping that we will be able to pay them. And that's one of the reasons, like I said, I have shared a lot of more information than I'm supposed to. But I just think that we can't use somebody's services and then not pay them. The city has to pay its vendors. I mean, that's just a simple piece of,
I got one more question for you.
yes.
So if your deputy were to be required to testify or in other words, be interviewed, and she required a representative, if she paid $525 an hour for that representative, and the two of you had two separate conversations with the investigator, but it was the same exact information, would you agree that that conversation cost 2x of $525?
Absolutely. And we did, my deputy has not been called by the state police as of yet, but we did discuss that if that was to happen, we would work together with the attorney.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry,
Yes.
Go ahead, Mayor. Just a comment. In my 30 years in law enforcement, I've never interviewed people together as a team. I've interviewed them individually. So they'd have to, obviously that would be an additional fee, right? Because you're being interviewed individually. Also, if there's the attorney's going to have to determine if there's a conflict of interest potentially and waive that conflict of interest. But yeah, through your attorney, right? If you had, you could waive it. The individuals could waive it, right?
We waived our
Conflict,
and
right?
just have joint representation, much like we just did with our attorney.
So the issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Harper, but the main issue is that this case is a criminal case versus
How do you know?
a civil case. You told us it was.
I told you it was a criminal case.
You told us it was the state police is investigating you
So how do you know? How do you know it's criminal or civil before there's actually adjudication?
because the state police doesn't do civil cases.
But the state police hasn't found anything yet, right? I mean,
What I'm
isn't
saying
that,
is, you're saying the state police is conducting an investigation. They're issuing subpoenas. They don't do civil investigations, so it's a criminal matter.
but it may be no matter.
It may be no matter. It may be no finding. It may be a charge.
So then it's not,
it may not be.
criminal until they say it's criminal, right? I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer.
This is the
but-
argument that everyone's. This is the argument that's at court. Is the issuing of a subpoena an action or not? That's one of the issues.
Very clear in the indemnification that the people who wrote and put that into our charter and code contemplated and provided expansive coverage for all situations. That is the position that the city has taken.
That is the
in
position.
responding to the court.
I wholeheartedly
We're
agree.
not arguing about that.
No,
The
no,
city's position
we're not.
is we are covered.
No, we're not arguing about that, but the city's position. No, we're not. No, we're not. I'm just trying to make. Explain. The city's position is that it is expansive, our code, and can cover civil and criminal matters. The lawsuit says, well, the state law says you can't do that, and that's what's in conflict. That's what's before besides other things, but that's what's before the judge. My understanding of Mr. Harper, he asked for an opinion from the controllers, and the controllers said, we need to wait for the decision from the judge. they're not going to issue an opinion until the judge makes her opinion. That's my understanding. That's my understanding. Unless do you want to clarify that, Mr. Harper, or is that correct? Okay.
And again, our position is, our law covers everything, correct? Thank you.
No, I'm just explaining what is at matter here with the lawsuit.
We're being challenged by people who I think have very, very, very questionable motives. And this is entirely political. And these gentlemen continue to waste the city's time and money over and over and over again. Those two gentlemen, Mike Brandy and Chris Starchuk, sued the city over a timeliness issue related to a FOIL disclosure, and then saw excessive remuneration. Excessive remuneration. They were scolded by the judge and had their ask reduced over 80%. That shows me there is not well-intended actions there. That shows me that this person is a grifter. Because I would love to know what was so important that they pulled out of that FOIL that it was worth everybody's time. And again, that excessive money grab. My answer is there was nothing revealed. There was nothing to that other than these people trying to grift and take money from taxpayers. And I'm going to keep saying it because these people have a political agenda. They continue to sue over every little thing. And frankly, people can sue. We've talked about that. The question is, just because you can, should you? The answer is no. You're wasting our time. The Republican committee is wasting our time. The mayor even said so himself. So, again, appreciate the differentiation you're trying to share. I reject that. These people really, really, really need to stare in the mirror and understand what the hell they are as citizens.
So just let me continue to explain that. So the state politicians who've been arrested on criminal charges, they end up paying their own legal fees, and if they're acquitted, they get reimbursed. And if they're not charged, and it happens all the time, then they get reimbursed. Exactly. That's the argument in court. I'm not taking the sides. That's what the judge should decide, and I'd be hopeful that she would decide rather quickly because it's a temporary restraining order.
I agree with you. And again, there are no criminal charges. So if there are criminal charges, that's, I think, a different issue than an ongoing investigation where there are no charges yet.
I don't think that's different because you could have a criminal case. A lot of people are never charged. They pay out of their own money, and then after they're not charged, they ask for that reimbursement. All we're talking about is are we getting reimbursed? Do you have to pay up front yourself and get reimbursed if there's no finding?
That's not what the word indemnification means.
We're talking again about a civil case versus a criminal.
You keep putting forward a counter argument to what the city's position is.
I'm not putting, our city's position is clear that our city code is more expensive. I'm just explaining what is at the judge's, in her lap right now.
Sworn an oath to fulfill the responsibilities of office relative to the charter of the city of Saratoga Springs.
Sure, I understand that.
We're going to continue to do that.
So that's the end of my agenda. And we can now move on to Public Works.
All right, back at it. First off, I would just like